As we do every Thursday, we welcome in Bob Whitcomb, GoLocal Columnist. Talk about the last
Hello,
column.
how are you?
I'm doing well. You've got your
How
notes.
come you've got a surface there while I don't? This is unfair.
I'm happy.
Sorry.
I'm more than happy.
My human rights are being violated.
We'll see what we can do. We'll put it in your rider. We'll arrange that for next week. So next week, we always talk about the kind of combination of last week's column and the coming column.
Yeah.
But we were talking before you came on. Last week you were kind of writing about the NRA and Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, Hugh Hefner, right? That great promoter of materialism, which is mostly what I got out of it. Not even the sex. It was all about having stuff. Kind of Trump Towerish.
There was
Literati, fancy cars, overpriced champagne, baubles.
the girlfriend.
Yeah,
So
terrible values. The sex stuff to me with him, I thought that wasn't the thing that will live on. The thing that will live on is it's okay to be 100% materialistic.
the rampant
And I'm willing to
materialism.
embrace that philosophy myself. If somebody would just give me some money.
The
piles of
rampant
money.
materialism
Yeah.
and then money and
Right,
absolute
right.
power. We saw what happened this week with Harvey Weinstein,
Right.
with
yeah.
all of the actresses stepping forward.
And a lot of that stuff was actually whispered about. As we talked before I came on, I'd heard rumors about him for years, at least from the mid-'90s, from people in Hollywood.
And I'm sure you've seen
Yeah.
in the press too these reports that Ronan Farrow basically had the story
Right.
and was told by NBC
NBC
to
quashed it. Right?
yeah, saying
no,
that
it's
don't quite
despicable.
have it. I mean,
Despicable. It makes you want to jump into a vat of slightly warmed Lysol, the whole thing.
because so many people knew about it, it took really that
Yeah.
journalist and the media
Yeah.
to bring it to light. It
Well,
wasn't
the
easy
theory
to do.
why it came out now is because of the collapse of the magazine business. And I'm going to put something, actually I did put it in the next column explaining why it came out now to the general public. But again, the rumors about this pig-like creature have been around for a long time.
They have.
Yeah.
And you say,
Too
again,
bad.
from the magazine business, so
Yeah.
you have your theory as to
Yeah,
why
it's
this
not my
happened.
theory. No, it's actually an observer in the conservative publication called the Weekly Standard, which I occasionally wrote for in the old days, and actually fairly recently too. And it's a good description of how the collapse of media advertising explains why the story is coming out now.
Very
You'll
interesting.
see.
I
You'll
will.
see. Including the coming collapse of Vanity Fair, the death of Cy Newhouse, the resignation of the editor because they're about to get
See,
quashed.
this is why you read Bob Whitcomb. This is why you
Yeah.
listen to Bob Whitcomb when he comes
So
in.
you can
get,
testify in court.
so you can get various vantage
Yeah,
points
yeah.
of what may be going on, reading between the lines, if you will. And we were talking before you came on, we have the Chief Executive Officer of the Girl Scouts of New England
Yes, I
on
think
the
that's
show
great,
today. The
yeah.
big news this week, Boy Scouts taking girls. There have been some rumblings about this for a while. What was your reaction?
Well, I think the Boy Scouts will then tend to take over the whole operation, probably. I think that could happen. I'd be very leery of this if I were the Girl Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we did discuss before, this will maybe create a whole different, how do I put it, ambience on camping trips.
Brings new.
So, yeah, brings it.
You're meaning to sleep over and retreat.
Sleepovers. So I think this is going to be very interesting.
Well, you
It'll be
had some-
interesting how they can kind of do more things together but keep their independence. This is going to be a big challenge.
to coexist. I mean,
Yeah.
you were mentioning before you came on co-education.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
the all male institutions.
Yeah,
integrated
especially with
women.
the fancy colleges in New England, elsewhere, the Ivy League college, some of the smaller private colleges. A lot of people thought, and I sort of thought it might happen, that the women's colleges, the old women's college, the well-established ones, which we have many famous ones in New England, Wellesley, Smith, Mount Holyoke. Well, of course, Radcliffe is technically part of Harvard University, but not part of Harvard College. Wheaton and so on, that they would all collapse, but Wheaton did go co-ed, but Mount Holyoke and Smith and Wellesley are still all female, and so there's a place. There's a place.
And
that
we
they
will
can
get
hang
that
out.
story from
But they're
him.
very prestigious, though. I think the places with less brand name, it's going to be much more difficult for them.
Well, I think folks are definitely interested to see how this is going to
Yeah,
play out. And
yeah.
want to hear from the Girl Scouts, so I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
I think
having.
It's a great idea, and it
him-
says something about changes in American culture, and and whether it's like gays and transgendered people in, and all this stuff, all the the roles associations traditionally associated with one sex and the other, it's all getting all mingled and
It's
exciting.
2017.
That's right.
It's a new world order. And you've got your crib
To me,
notes.
it's always 1917.
You can never have Bob Whitcomb on without a
Right.
good quip, but you've got your notes for this coming
I
column.
do, yeah. We're going to talk
Crib
about
notes.
all-electric vehicles. The Chinese are going to eventually ban internal combustion engine vehicles. GM announced last week it's going to go all-electric within about 10 years.
Wow.
Ford's coming out with all these new models. So whatever the Trump administration says, they're in bed with fossil fuel. The world's going electric.
When are you going to get your
Yeah.
first electric vehicle?
I think maybe the next time we get a car, we have
Wow.
a kind of but a kind of awkward-looking Saturn. We have one of the last Saturns ever made. No, well,
A
actually,
collector's
there's a
item.
story about it, the cover of the Boston Globe. My wife went out and bought the last Saturn after I wrecked the other one on black ice. And it's incredibly ugly, very difficult to turn, but it's solid. It could take a direct nuclear attack.
And they don't make them anymore.
No, they don't make it anymore. They're a great car, but I think maybe the next one we will, yeah, because the price is coming down. There still aren't quite enough charging stations, but there are more coming up, and I think you're going to see maybe in 15 years no more gas stations.
Well,
It's speeding up. Everything's speeding up. So, and the renewable sources of electric generation are getting cheaper: solar, hydro, wind. So.
the question is, will we be here in 15 years to discuss this?
Probably not. No, I think we'll universal bereavement and inspiring achievement. Yeah.
We shall see. But before I let you go, speaking
Yeah.
of supply and demand,
Yeah.
today I was over at that triangle parcel in Providence where the Hilton Homewood Suites was kicked off, the hard hats,
Right.
the pomp and circumstance, Joe Panlino, all the elected officials. You wrote last week in your column, what is going on?
What's going on?
With the Fogarty
Yeah.
building, the Procacciani
Yeah.
Hotel. Again, is there a hotel industrial complex in Providence and can it
Well,
support it?
I wonder if they think, the stock market's going up, everything's going up still. I think we're overextended, and I think we probably have too many hotels. And so I think they're having financing problems because of that. Now, I love to see, I want like that parking lot across the street from here, I want everything to be covered with buildings. It's much better. But if they're looking ahead 4, 5, 6 years and saying they aren't going to have a market, then they're going to lose financing. I don't know all the details of hotel financing. I'm sure it's complicated with various tranches and that kind of
I
thing.
can
But I think
only
maybe
imagine.
I think the lenders maybe are popping more Xanax these days, and the hotel developers. So
Well,
it's very ugly.
we shall
It's
see.
almost as ugly as the building that was there, the open pit, the iron ore mine there.
Should we have a
Yeah.
poll?
Yeah, right.
What's more of an
right.
eyesore?
I think they should put a little lake in there with, fish. And,
Something pop up, something fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Right,
let's do it.
yeah.
Let's have a pop up in
Yeah.
the Fogarty building.
Yeah, great idea. Great
Well,
idea.
Bob, I appreciate as always you're coming in to talk about last week's column, this week's column. So you have electric vehicles. You do have other notes on there.
I do. I've got to mention one thing. The Catalonia independence thing, I think the Russians are pumping that up. It's part of their division. I think they're doing cyber stuff, and they're taking other actions to promote.
You mentioned you have a theory about Cuba.
Yeah, that's the
That's
Russian.
the
Sonic
very
attack.
bizarre.
Sonic attack.
Right?
Sounds very Russian.
I mean, you think about who's got the capacity, not to say that, Cuban
Yeah.
engineers can't, but it's, just a population standpoint, you have a small island and a vast country of folks
Yeah.
who can sort of engineer that type of atrocity. But
Well, divide.
Divide.
Distrust, sow distrust and divide. That's Mr. Putin's strategy.
Oh,
And it's
well.
a damn good one for all of us, I think.
distress and divide.
You're
Bob
right.
Whitcomb.
Absolutely.
Read him on Sundays. I
Okay.
appreciate your coming in today.
See you later,
Okay.
alligator. Bye-bye.
Distress
Happy
and
weekend.
divide. Happy week. Bob Whitcomb, as he does every Thursday, comes in, talks about what he has written in his last column, and he talks about what he might be penning for the coming weekend. I believe Harvey Weinstein will be in that agenda. Other items as well: electric vehicles, international politics. There's no stone left unturned with Bob Whitcomb. So as always, we appreciate his columns. We appreciate him coming in to Go Local. We'll see him next Thursday, hopefully back here.